Another interesting syntactic feature related with function invocations is the use of so-called keyword arguments. Consider the following generic function definition, which includes two parameters in its header. In our main program, we may invoke this function in the traditional way, where we pass as many values as parameters are listed in the function header. These are what we call positional arguments, since the position of each value in the function call determines the parameter of the function header that it is mapped to. But we may also explicitly indicate this mapping in the function call by preceding each argument value with the parameter name it should be mapped to, as shown here. An argument using this syntax is called a keyword argument, or also a named argument. The main advantage of this notation is that we now have the flexibility of passing arguments in any order. In this third call, the positions of the first and second arguments have been swapped, while keeping the exact same behavior as the two previous calls. This feature becomes particularly handy when combined with the use of default arguments, the ones we studied earlier. Take a look at the following function called printPerson. This function accepts 4 arguments. The first argument is mandatory and represents the person's first name. The remaining 3 arguments represent the person's middle name, last name, and email address, respectively. They're all optional and default to an empty string if omitted. The purpose of this function is printing the given person's information in an aesthetic manner. We start by initializing a string named result to the person's first name. If the person's middle name was given, we append a space, the middle name's initial, and a dot character. Notice that we extract the middle name's first letter by using the square bracket notation with index 0. If the last name was given, we append another space followed by the given string. And finally, if an email address was given, we append one last space with the email address surrounded with brackets. The resulting string is then printed into the terminal. Here are a couple of ways in which we could leverage keyword arguments to invoke this function. In this first call, we pass John as the first name using a positional argument, and Smith as the last name using a keyword argument. The person's middle name and email address are omitted, producing the output shown here. The second call provides values for all parameters included in the function's definition, but keyword arguments are passed in different order. As you can observe, it becomes very clear what the meaning of each argument is when reading this function call, much more so than if we had opted for positional arguments instead. And this is the output generated by this call, containing a first name, a middle name initial, a last name, and an email address. If you enjoyed this content, you may watch the rest of this lesson at computersciencecamp.com, linked in the description below. You'll be able to follow along with coding samples and problems in our embedded code editor. Drop your questions in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to help support the channel. Thank you, and happy coding!